Part 38. Different Dimension Red Alert World. Author, Sanqian Lang. Chapter 371. At this point, Professor Li Dong finally finished speaking. Normally, Wang Ling would not bother to pay attention to this erratic truth. After all, it has nothing to do with him. But now, he happened to be facing this kind of power at his fingertips and fell into confusion. After all, Wang Ling is just an ordinary person, not a saint. When faced with the heaven-defying exchange of the interdimensional system, he will also be aroused with desires deep in his heart. But he is not a bad person after all. He still maintains scruples and vigilance in the face of desire. But now, Professor Li Dong's words are like a beacon in his wandering world, awakening Wang Ling and pointing out the path ahead for him. After listening to Professor Li Dong's words with concentration, all Wang Ling's confusion finally dissipated at this moment, and the hesitant look in his eyes finally became firm at this moment. "Teacher, thank you for clearing up the confusion." "Haha, it's nothing, it's just a small matter. Do you have any other questions?" "No, thank you, teacher." "Okay, I'll hang up if there's nothing else to do. There are still a lot of papers that need to be corrected here." "Okay, teacher, don't be too tired. Go to bed early. Good night." After some last polite words, he finally hung up the phone. The knot in his heart was untied, and Wang Ling now felt refreshed. Of course, Uncle He heard everything about this phone call, and he couldn't help but speak at this time. "Tisk, tisk. This Professor Li Dong is a person. I originally planned to tempt you to summon the wolf group to the real world to have a vigorous fight. Well, he got it all mixed up." Wang Ling rolled his eyes. "Uncle He, if you think I'm stubborn, just say so. Come on, what's your decision now?" "I can't seduce you anymore," Uncle He admitted defeat. Wang Ling was also offended by Uncle He's behavior, and didn't take it too seriously. He sneered and said, "What other decision could it be? I don't want to be a villain and cause trouble for one party, nor do I want to be a saint or hero to save the country world. Let's just be an ordinary person. Anyway, after redemption and unlocking, it will not be relocked. You can redeem it at any time. With the points in hand, I have the world." Yes, Wang Ling really looked away and was not ashamed at all when he said it. This time it was Uncle He's turn to roll his eyes. After blowing it, Wang Ling coughed dryly and returned to the topic. "Okay, Uncle He, let's redeem Xiao He into the real world, forever." When this moment finally arrived, Wang Ling was already full of anticipation. In the Red Alert world, even the death of the instructor in battle only made him hold a grudge and try his best to seek revenge. But here in Xiao He, his heart was full of shame. Woof woof woof. As soon as he finished speaking, before Uncle He could respond, he vaguely seemed to hear Xiao He's familiar barking, and then he appeared. These few barks made Wang Ling tremble all over. He turned around and saw that the space behind him suddenly collapsed and twisted into a black space-time tunnel. After the tunnel was formed, Wang Ling didn't have time to react. Suddenly, a brown-black figure jumped out of it. If it wasn't Xia He, a police dog, who could it be? Woof woof woof. The virtual life is materialized, and the redemption is very convenient and fast. The redemption was successful just after Wang Ling issued the order. Now Xiao He has truly appeared in the real world in a semi-virtual and semi-physical life state. After Xiao He actually landed on the floor, the twisted black tunnel quickly faded and disappeared. Wang Ling was originally the only one in the dormitory, but suddenly, there was another dog. Looking at this figure, Wang Ling was in a trance subconsciously. Is this old man really living like this? Woof woof woof. Just when Wang Ling was in a daze, Xiao He had already seen Wang Ling. He seemed to be extremely excited, barked, and suddenly rushed towards Wang Ling. Wang Ling's body has been strengthened at the intermediate level, and has repeatedly been strengthened by some military experience. Now it has reached a certain level, but in the end, Xiao He was thrown to the floor, pinned down and licked continuously. It tickled Wang Ling's face, making Wang Ling giggle. At this time, Wang Ling finally regained his composure. Through this contact, he caught Xiao He's flesh and skin. The touch was indeed exactly the same as a real entity. This guy Xiao He really came to life. Ha ha ha, okay, Xiao He, don't be so impulsive, let me take a breath. Wang Ling couldn't bear to kick Xiao He away. He wanted to get up, but he couldn't get up because Xiao He was holding him down. In a desperate situation, Wang Ling had no choice but to beg for mercy. My Wu. As a police dog, Xiao He is still very smart and obedient. As soon as Wang Ling finished speaking, Xiao He got out of the way, and Wang Ling had time to sit up, stroking Xiao He's head and looking at the police dog. Although Xiao He has been resurrected in the real world, in the red alert world, after all, he did not eat, drink or sleep because he was waiting for Wang Ling. His current body shape is several times thinner than when they were separated. Wang Ling looked at it. Lingdu felt a little distressed. Now Xiao He retains all the memories in the red alert world. At the same time, he also knows the status of himself and Wang Ling because of the system. Previously in the red alert world, I spent my life waiting for Wang Ling, and could not see him until my death. And these memories were obviously brought to the real world. I was so excited after seeing Wang Ling, even when Wang Ling stroked it, the corners of his eyes were even a little moist, but he kept his eyes closed, sticking out his tongue and curling his mouth, as if he was enjoying it, cherishing it, and also seemed to be afraid that Wang Ling would leave again. When Wang Ling saw it like this, his heart was so painful that he couldn't even hold it back and shed tears. Xiao He, should I tell you whether you are smart or stupid? It's not like I won't go back. Why are you waiting for me to die? If the system didn't have this conversion project, you would have made me blame myself and feel guilty for the rest of my life, Wang said with tears in his eyes. Ling Huan scolded him. My Wu. When Xiao He heard this, he opened his eyes and did not bark, but the sound he made seemed to be aggrieved. Originally, Wang Ling had saved a lot of words and wanted to teach them all at once, but when he saw Xiao He like this, he couldn't speak at all. He was crying but suddenly laughed. You idiot, I'm really impressed with you. Okay, are you hungry? You're used to eating food from the red alert world, so let's try snacks from the real world. After all, Xiao He almost starved to death at the beginning, and even if he was resurrected, he would still be in a state of extreme hunger. Wang Ling was not stingy either. He rummaged through the boxes and cabinets and took out almost all the snacks in the dormitory. He selected some that were suitable for Xiao He, peeled them off and fed them to him hand in hand. Xiao He also ate them happily. During this period, there were sounds of dogs barking from time to time. This feeling has never happened since he left the police dog training base. Looking back now, Wang Ling looked at Xiao He with doting eyes. After feeding him a bunch of snacks and giving him some water, Wang Ling said, Okay, Xiao He, I don't know how long it's been since you had a good rest. Let's go back to the transit station first. I'll give it to you in the dormitory tomorrow. Let's build a doghouse inside. After saying that, he touched Xiao He's dog's head, and with a thought, the black vortex from before emerged again. Stepping into it, it was the transfer station of the different dimensional system. Of course, only a semi-virtual and semi-physical life state like Xiao He can travel through this, and ordinary people cannot enter or exit. However, Xiao He was disobedient at this time and refused to go in. Instead, he bit Wang Ling's trouser leg and refused to let go. Different Dimension Red Alert World. Author, Sanqian Lang. Chapter 372. Xiao He, don't be so naughty, be obedient, and go back. The little black guy got angry, which made Wang Ling a little dissatisfied. He frowned and scolded him. Roar. However, Xiao He still looked like that, biting Wang Ling's trouser leg and refusing to let go. He even let out a low growl in his throat. Looking at that posture, it seemed that someone was trying to get it away, or someone was trying to let it go again. Wang Ling left as if he would fight for whoever he wanted. You stupid guy. Wang Ling was still a little angry at first, but when he saw Xiao He like this, he suddenly lost his temper and even felt faintly distressed. After all, after that separation, Xiao He was really scared, afraid that Wang Ling would leave again. Animals also have emotions and sustenance. They are even more pure and sincere than people. Wang Ling had no choice but to reprimand him anymore. He bent down and rubbed Xiao He's dog's head, and said comfortingly, "Okay, okay, I'm not saying that I'm letting you leave forever. I just want to go back and have a sleep. I'll finish my work tomorrow morning. Are you back again? Don't worry, this time, I won't leave again. You can see me at any time in the system transfer station, and there is a wretched uncle accompanying you. Go ahead. Go." Who's being naughty? It was a normal comfort at first, but when Uncle He heard it, he immediately protested. But Wang Ling ignored him at all and just rubbed Xiao He. It seemed that Uncle He was not as important as the police dog in his eyes now, which made Uncle He very depressed. After this relief, Xiao He finally felt relieved and finally relaxed. However, just when it turned around and was about to jump into the black whirlpool, it suddenly clang clang clang. There's a knock on the door. The originally normal knock on the door startled Wang Ling, and he subconsciously cancelled the black vortex, leaving Xiao He to escape. Click. Just as the black vortex disappeared, the person who knocked on the door opened the dormitory door without Wang Ling's permission. Wang Ling turned around and saw that it was the dormitory manager. The warden of this dormitory building is an uncle over 50 years old. He is short, dark-skinned, and wearing a simple green coat. He is obviously a migrant worker who has come to work in the city. Wang Ling has lived here for so long, so he comes and goes naturally. Often seen. Recognizing the dormitory manager, Wang Ling subconsciously stood in front of Xiao He and asked, "Uncle, what's wrong?" As the saying goes, those who come without goodwill will not come. Dormitory wardens usually rarely knock on the door of a student dormitory, but once they come, it is basically nothing good. It must be that the students in the dormitory have committed some taboo. Like this time, the dormitory manager didn't even wait for Wang Ling's response before he pushed the door open, obviously with some dissatisfaction. Sure enough, after hearing this, the dormitory manager directly pointed at Xiao He behind Wang Ling, with a somewhat displeased expression on his face. "You are getting more and more excessive. You usually throw a lot of beer and kebabs and melon seeds into the corridor, but now you are raising them again. There's a dog. The school doesn't allow students to keep dogs in school. Get it out quickly." Xiao He had appeared in the dormitory before. Because he was excited, he barked for a while, and the sound was not quiet. He happened to be heard by the dormitory manager. No, he came to the door after cleaning, and it was really just for Xiao He. Wang Ling actually didn't find the scene unusual. If he wanted to raise Xiao He in the real world, sooner or later he would arouse the dissatisfaction of the dormitory guards and school leaders, but he didn't expect the dormitory supervisor to arrive so quickly. "Don't bother, uncle, please be merciful. Xiao He is very obedient and won't cause you any trouble. It's so cold outside, where can he sleep if you kick him out?" Of course Wang Ling couldn't do what he wanted, since sooner or later we all have to face this scene, so we might as well solve it now. While stepping forward to plead for mercy, Wang Ling hurriedly dug out a box of Dongfang-looking cigarettes and stuffed them into the hands of the dormitory manager. "Uncle, please be accommodating. I promise not to cause any trouble to you." After receiving the cigarette, the dormitory manager was at a loss for a moment. He looked at Wang Ling and then Xiao He with a strange expression, then put the cigarette into his pocket and warned, "Don't let it happen, you're barking." There are dogs in the dormitory, and they are large dogs. If they disturb other students, they will be complained. Absolutely, Wang Ling quickly assured. Then the dormitory manager exited the dormitory and closed the dormitory door. But after the dormitory manager left, Wang Ling felt dumbfounded. To be honest, he didn't expect to get rid of the dormitory manager with just a pack of cigarettes, and he was even prepared to pay for it. But I didn't expect that this dormitory manager would be so easy to talk to, and he was actually silenced by a pack of cigarettes. This dormitory manager can often hear his complaints when he is cleaning the corridors on weekdays. After all, the students in the dormitory are very good at making garbage, and there are often a lot of trash piled up in the corridors. Trash, all these have to be taken care of by the dormitory manager. Not only that, even if the bathroom faucet is broken or the toilet is clogged, the dormitory manager is repairing it. It can be said that he is conscientious. He does not embarrass Wang Ling. Wang Ling really does not want to embarrass the dormitory manager. How can he do this? A bribe solved the problem, just right. As for the dormitory warden who had just arrived, the sound inevitably attracted the attention of some students in the surrounding dormitories. After the dormitory warden left, several people knocked on the door. These were all interested in dogs. One of them, a young man named Guangtao, even had the courage to touch Xiao Hei's forehead. Fortunately, Xiao Hei has been trained. He is very smart and did not resist. He squatted on the ground obediently, showing a naive look, which is very cute. When asked where he bought Xiao Hei, Wang Ling made some nonsense and said he bought it from the dog market, and then he could barely cope with them. Anyway, there are no records in the dog market, so no one can check it. After seeing off these people, Wang Ling took a deep breath and continued to summon the black vortex. Xiao Hei did not hesitate and dived directly into the transfer station of the different dimensional system. Wang Ling was also a little tired now, so he lay on the bed and slept until dawn. When he woke up in the morning, Wang Ling did his usual morning exercise for a while, then had some breakfast and went shopping in the school supermarket. With such an extra member in the dormitory, there must be some preparations. Wang Ling bought a large number of snacks directly from the supermarket, mostly dried meat, which is what Xiao Haika in the Red Alert world loves to eat. Then I bought some blankets, wooden boards, nails, hammers, rice bowls, etc., and went back to the dormitory to do it myself. I used wooden boards and nails to put together a temporary doghouse, and then put blankets in it. From now on, this will be Xiao Hei's temporary nest. After everything was ready, Wang Ling called Xiao Hei out of the system transfer station again. Woof woof woof. As soon as he appeared, Xiao Hei barked wildly, and then chased his tail several times, feeling a little heartless with joy. Xiao Hei, come and see if this little nest is suitable, Wang Ling waved. After hearing this, Xiao Hei obediently got into the small nest and lay down. The soft towel seemed to make it quite comfortable. There seemed to be a smile in his narrowed eyes, and he was obviously very satisfied. This little nest. Wang Ling smiled and was about to say something, but suddenly, boom! The dormitory door was kicked open again, and at the same time, the wanton voice came from behind the door, "Wang Ling, kid, I'm back, do you miss your dad? You are listening to novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Different Dimension Red Alert World. Author, Sanqian Lang. Chapter 373. Wang Ling twitched the corners of his mouth exaggeratedly, looking extremely embarrassed. With such a dangling way of appearing, no need to ask, it is naturally Wei Bowen, a second-rate roommate. Wang Ling looked outside, and sure enough he saw Wei Bowen blocking the door, wearing a thick down jacket, walking in bows, winking at Wang Ling with a lively look, and even rubbing his thumb when he saw Wang Ling. Rubbing the tip of his nose, it was a complete joke. Wang Ling was not surprised. He had long been accustomed to Wei Bowen's behavior. Woof. However, Xiao He is not happy anymore. The kick on the door just now didn't scare Wang Ling, but it scared Xiao He. After the dormitory door stopped, he immediately started to fight back. He got out of the kennel with a bark, and it looked like he wanted to rushing towards Wei Bowen. Oh my god! Wei Bowen, who was still quarreling before, was so frightened by Xiao He that he jumped dozens of centimeters high. Xiao He, don't be impulsive. At the same time, Wang Ling also hurriedly called out to Xiao He. No matter how naive Xiao He is also a police dog. In the Red Alert world, Wang Ling personally trained him. Wang Ling knows his combat power very well. When this guy goes crazy, even Wang Ling will be afraid of him. It's 3 points. Although the Red Alert world is different from reality, with Xiao He's attack power, if he really pounces on Wei Bowen, how can it be repaid? Wow! Xiao He was obedient and stopped immediately, but Wei Bowen was still frightened. He let out a strange scream, staggered back, bumped into the door of the opposite dormitory, and accidentally knocked it open. He hid in and slammed the dormitory door shut. When Wang Ling saw this scene, his brain seemed to be cramping, and he stared blankly at the dormitory door opposite, at a loss. And after he blinked several times, Wei Bowen's voice came from behind the dormitory door, "Wang Ling, where did this dog come from? Ha 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 ha." Before Wang Ling could respond, the buddies in the opposite dormitory started laughing wildly. Among them, Guang Tao was still explaining, "Look at how scared you are. This is the black-back Wang Ling bought from the dog market, but it is obedient. I even touched its head last night. The feel is unparalleled, all right. Obey? But why do I feel like it just wanted to bite me to death? You didn't do it yourself. You kicked the door and scared it? I even scared you with that kick." This saves Wang Ling the need to explain, as the guys across from him have already explained it clearly. After hearing this, Wang Ling looked at the innocent-looking Xiao He and spread his hands helplessly. After learning about it, Wei Bowen finally plucked up the courage and slowly opened the door to the dormitory opposite. He carefully glanced at Xiao He through the crack of the door to make sure that the police dog was not rioting, and then he slowly got out, step by step. He moved in until he was less than 1 meter away from Xiao He, and Xiao He never made things difficult for him again, so the guy breathed a sigh of relief. Wang Ling saw the scene in his eyes and couldn't help but laugh. "Are you serious? You were scared into this by Xiao He?" Wei Bowen was not happy anymore. "I was just playing cool, and suddenly I heard a dog barking, and a huge creature rushed over. Are you not afraid?" Woof. Wang Ling didn't say anything, but Xiao He barked, which scared Wei Bowen and took 2 steps back. He asked worriedly, "Wang Ling, is this dog really okay? Doesn't it bite?" Wang Ling was dumbfounded. How could it not bite? "But don't worry, it is very obedient. If I don't let it bite, it won't bite." Wei Bowen was a little doubtful, but seeing that Xiao He didn't rush over again, he felt more at ease. He slowly walked around Xiao He, put down all his luggage, and complained, "I told you, are you too lonely? You are in the dormitory. There are dogs here." As he talked, this guy still had the courage to slowly approach Xiao He, stretched out his hand and poked Xiao He. After testing, he found that there was no danger, so he completely let down his guard and started combing his hair, while Xiao He Wei Bowen returned to his previous naive appearance, and Wei Bowen was also very happy when he saw it. "This dog is so good, ha ha ha." Wang Ling couldn't explain the things about the different dimensional system and the Red Alert world, so he simply went down the slope. "What can I do? You guys are not here. I am alone. It's too boring, so I bought a black bag to play with me. After hearing this, Xiao He glanced at Wang Ling and stuck out his tongue. This dog is very smart. Hearing Wang Ling misrepresent his origin, it means he can't speak, otherwise he would have protested long ago. Wang Ling ignored Xiao He and asked while stroking his dog's hair, "The final exam is the day after tomorrow. Why are you coming back by yourself? Where are those two idiots Shenkai and Yuking? From drinking companionship to long-term companionship, from early morning to night, when the wind fills your ears, I will still be by your side." It really said that Cao had arrived. As soon as Wang Ling finished asking, Zhang Shenkai's voice came from the corridor, singing from afar to near, sounding very chic. Not long after, Zhang Sheng stood at the door of the dormitory, threw his backpack on the bed from a distance, and shouted, "Brother, come back." Woof. Ah. However, before he could finish his words, Xiao He suddenly interrupted him with a shout, which shocked him severely. He was even more embarrassed than Wei Bowen just now. He yelled and walked to the other side of the corridor. On one side, he ran in the direction of the bathroom. As he ran, he asked, "Whose dog is this?" In the dormitory, Wang Ling and Wei Bowen glanced at each other, then burst into laughter and ignored him. After a while, the fool came back on his own and turned his head to look at the dormitory. Regarding the situation inside, he finally stared at Xiao He and asked, "Where did this dog come from? Such a big dog scares me to death." Wang Ling held back his smile and explained, "I bought it from the dog market. Don't worry, it will be obedient and won't bite you." Even though Zhang Sheng is a talented person, he is quite timid when it comes to some things, such as supernatural matters and some sudden things. When I first saw Xiao He, I was quite frightened. However, this guy is quite adaptable. After hearing what Wang Ling said, he quickly calmed down and gradually walked into the dormitory. He glared at Xiao He and touched the dog's head. He didn't see any resistance from Xiao He and then completely relaxed. "Where did you buy this dog? How old is it? What's its name?" There was such a new member in the dormitory. Zhang Shenkei was obviously very interested and asked after him. And Wang Ling also repeated what he said before. The mighty police dog in the red police world fell into Wang Ling's mouth and was bought from the dog market. I guess Xiao He is also feeling aggrieved. Every time Wang Ling does the speaking of it, it would give Wang Ling a strange look, but it couldn't speak, so it could only protest silently. After asking, Zhang Sheng rolled his eyes and smiled maliciously, "Yu Qing and his wife will be here soon. We can't give them an advantage. We have to scare them no matter what." Different Dimension Red Alert World. Author, Sanqian Lang. Chapter 374. Well, he made this calculation very loudly. He was scared by the dog, so he couldn't take advantage of others. There were some who responded, such as Wei Bowen, "Yes, yes. These two people usually feed us dog food, and this time we have to let the dogs scare them. Dogs and dogs, this dog food can be eaten, it's only natural." Wang Ling was speechless for a moment. And Zhang Shenkei didn't care whether Xiao He could understand or not, he actually discussed it with Xiao He. "Xiao He, brother He. There will be two people coming later, a man and a woman. You can do something by then. Be fierce and scare them. As long as you scare them, I will buy you ham." Woof. The other dogs couldn't understand these words at all, but Xiao He was an exception. He really understood it, but he didn't dare to make a decision. Instead, he barked and looked at Wang Ling, waiting for his order. Wang Ling couldn't do anything to them and shrugged his shoulders. "I don't care, but it's okay to scare people, don't go too far. If you bite someone, be careful and I'll deduct snacks from you. My woo." After receiving the agreement, Xiao He wagged his tail, squatted down and stretched out his dog's paw towards Zhang Shenkei, while Zhang Shenke also extended his hand with a surprised look on his face. The man and the dog held their paws like this, with a happy cooperation looks like. "Hey, Wang Ling, how much did you spend on this dog? This is no ordinary dog, this is a dog demon, turned into a spirit." Wei Bowen looked surprised and watched Xiao He start driving. A joke. Woof, but Xiao He didn't like hearing this anymore, and barked at Wei Bowen, startling him. "You also said that you are not a dog monster, and you can understand this." Wang Ling was speechless. In the red alert world, Xiao He is a dignified police dog, with almost instant killing power against infantry, but in the real world, in Wang Ling's dormitory, he is treated as a pet and a toy. This feeling of disparity didn't bother Xiao He, but Wang Ling felt a bit dumbfounded. Now, although the dormitory is not fully staffed, with the addition of these two people, it has become a lot more lively. In addition, Xiao He, the police dog, is attracting the conversation, and several people are having a great time chatting. "Why does your dormitory have to be on the 6th floor? I feel so tired every time I come up. There is nothing we can do about this. The department head is too stupid. He drew lots and got to the 6th floor. If he wanted to live on campus, he would have to climb up and down the 6th floor every day. He would be exhausted. That's why I said I wanted to go out in the first place. It's so safe and convenient to rent a house." Just as they were chatting, the voices of Dong Fangyuking and his partner Sun Tongtong slowly came from the corridor, approaching from far away and soon approaching the dormitory. "Come on, come on, come on. Xiao He, get ready. Bowen, get your phone quickly, record it, and show it to him later if you have nothing to do." As soon as he heard this voice, Zhang Shenke immediately became excited and quickly took out his phone, while Xiao He Black also stood up very cooperatively, lying on all fours, facing the door of the dormitory. Da-da-da-da. While waiting, the footsteps finally got closer and closer, and within a moment Dong Fangyuking and Sun Tongtong appeared at the door. Woof woof. Roar. And Xiao He also performed hard for his ham, barking several times, baring his teeth, and growling continuously. Looking at his posture, he seemed to be ready to pounce at any time. "Ah, big wolf dog," as expected, Sun Tongtong was indeed startled, but not as embarrassed as Wei Bowen and Zhang Shenke before. She just hid behind Dong Fangyuking and held onto his clothes tightly. What was unexpected was that Dong Fangyuking, a dull boy, was not afraid at all when he saw Xiao He's fierce appearance. He even looked surprised. "Damn it, Hebei. Who raised him? Our dormitory is full of people." New member. Zhang Shenke was stunned by his appearance. "Why aren't you afraid at all?" Dong Fangyuking asked strangely, "What are you afraid of?" "I have several big dogs and puppies, and there is even a Tibetan Mastiff. Even I am fierce, and I have been kept in a cage. Compared with my Tibetan Mastiff, this black-backed one is much better. You don't even need to tie the rope, right?" Zhang Shenke pouted and couldn't speak. He could only put down the phone silently. Wei Bowen also put it down and sighed. "This is the gap. Why am I so timid? That's because I don't have a rich father. My woo." Even Xiao He was discouraged in an instant and looked decadent, as if he was sighing for his lost ham. "What, from your tone, have you been scared by a dog before?" "Well, I'm not telling you. Why are you so cowardly? Are you scared by a dog? Show up with the courage you had before." At this time, it can be said that it was a waste of money. He could not see the excitement of Dong Fangyuking, but was laughed at by him. He even talked about falsehoods, which made Sun Tongtong blush a little. Anyway, with the final exam approaching, the dormitory staff finally gathered together again. Moreover, the final exam cannot be completed in 1 or 2 days. They have been having a lot of fun these days. The real world is really different from the red alert world. When he was in the red alert world, even if Wang Ling was not fighting in person, he had to always pay attention to the electronic map and be vigilant at all times. After all, he was on the battlefield, and every laxity might cost his life. But in the real world, in the ivory tower, there are no worries, not even the upcoming final exam, and there is no hope of passing it anyway. Several people gathered together and stayed in the dormitory to rest and chat until noon. Sun Tongtong said she was hungry, so she went out and ate something casually in the cafeteria. Then she wandered around outside and returned to the dormitory to rest for a few hours. And in the evening went out to buy a bunch of skewers of beer and peanuts. During this period, Xiao He has been following him, and the dog can often be seen on the street, but few passers-by are frightened. Although Xiao He failed to do this, Zhang Shenke still bought him a bunch of ham sausages and some other meat. Wang Ling bought some dog food to go with it, and his treatment was better than that of humans. Why are the corridors of this dormitory building always filled with garbage? Just look at Wang Ling's purchasing power and you'll know what's going on. It's a rare occasion to get together, so it's natural to have another delicious meal in the evening. This life is comfortable and leisurely. Dry. After finishing the second bottle of beer, Dongfang Yuking wiped the corner of his mouth, pointed at Xiao He who was eating dried meat and asked, "Wang Ling, how long have you raised him? He usually eats, drinks, poops and sleeps in the dormitory. Or should I just let it sit there every day and solve it when I go out?" For it. When he asked this, he really got to the point. Xiao He was resurrected yesterday and has only been in the real world for 1 day. His previous habits at the police dog training base have to be changed here. There is no special toilet for him in the dormitory, otherwise how stinky would it be? Different Dimension Red Alert World. Author, Sanqian Lang. Chapter 375. Xiao He is smart, but no matter how smart he is, he will still be confused when faced with things he has never seen before and has no understanding of. Are all people like this, let alone police dogs? Previously at the Red Alert World Police Dog Training Base, Xiao He was used to living in a kennel, which had its own special and convenient area. He just had to go in and clean it regularly, but that didn't work here. This was a real-life dormitory. Thinking of this, Wang Ling thought it was necessary to educate Xiao He. Eat later, Xia He. Wang Ling stood up, brushed the dog's hair, and led it to the dormitory door. The dormitory door is now open, but Wang Ling specially closed it, then inserted the bolt, and said to Xiao He, "This is our dormitory, not a kennel. You eat, drink, and sleep in the dormitory no problem, but you can't put your toilet in here. If you want to be more convenient in the future, if you're not outside, you have to go to the toilet, you know." Wang Ling, are you stupid? Do you really think that Xia He turned into a spirit and is a dog monster? How can it understand what you are telling it? Wei Bowen said while eating skewers. My wu. Wang Ling didn't reply, but Xiao He shouted, as if he had already understood. Wei Bowen was stunned. Xiao He is not an ordinary dog, he is a police dog. Wang Ling smiled and shook his head, then ignored him and continued to talk to Xiao He. Usually the door is open, you can come in and out at will, but when we sleep, the door will be blocked like this. You have to use your teeth or claws to pull the latch out and open the door so you can get out. While talking, Wang Ling even opened the latch and opened the door as a demonstration. At this moment, Wei Bowen couldn't stand it anymore. Wang Ling, no matter how smart this dog is, there is a limit. How is it possible for him to pull the latch and open the door? If he can really open the door, I will call him daddy. Good guy, you really dare to say it. Wang Ling shrugged his shoulders and didn't reply. He just closed the dormitory door again and inserted the latch. Xiao He, as I just said, give it a try. My wu. Xiao He really remembered it and put a paw on the latch, trying to imitate Wang Ling's movements. but no one has the dexterity of a dog's paw. After tinkering for a while, he couldn't open it. The coke broke. Wei Bowen, and even Zhang Shenke, Dong Fang Yuking, and Sun Tongtong looked at it curiously. Woof. However, Xiao He didn't give up. He stood up with his upper body straight up. He moved his two claws together for a moment and finally pulled out the bolt. The latch problem was solved, and it was even easier to open the door. Xiao He bit the doorknob with his teeth, slowly backed away, and then the dormitory door was opened wide by it. Wei Bowen, dot. Zhang Shenke, dot. Dong Fang Yuking, dot. Sun Tongtong, dot. This weird scene really shocked the eyes of these four people. They looked at Xiao He in stunned silence, unable to say a word. Wang Ling looked at Wei Bowen meaningfully and kept laughing maliciously. After receiving Wang Ling's signal, Wei Bowen understood instantly, but he couldn't speak and looked embarrassed. Wang Ling did not embarrass him and took a step back. Don't be too polite, just call me brother. Hello, brother He. Wei Bowen hurried down the slope. Woof, Xiao He didn't understand it yet, and barked as if to say hello. Wei Bowen was stunned when he saw it. Wang Ling, you He brother bought it, you really made a lot of money. You said it is a dog monster, I really believe it. Even Dong Fang Yuking said, don't tell me, I rarely see such a humane dog. If you want to give it to me, you will buy it for 20,000 yuan. Wang Ling couldn't laugh or cry, shook his head and said, come on, I can't bear to sell it. Okay, it's time to teach it to go to the toilet. Xiao He, turn left when you go out and see an open door with a lot of space inside and many pools. That's the bathroom right there. Woof. When Xiao He heard this, he barked and walked out of the dormitory door leisurely and walked to the left. In the dormitory, Wei Bowen and the other two glanced at each other and hurriedly followed him, wanting to see how smart this dog was. After everyone left the dormitory and Xiao He groped his way out for a certain distance, Wang Ling shouted, wait a minute, Xiao He, come out by yourself at night and remember to close the door. We are all sleeping at that time. My woo. When Xiao He heard this, he actually turned around and walked over again, biting the doorknob and closed the dormitory door. Wei Bowen, dot. Zhang Shenke, dot. Dong Fang Yuking, dot. Sun Tongtong, dot. This dog is really amazing. After closing the door, Xiao He continued to fumble towards the bathroom. He passed several dormitories in succession. Xiao He took a look and found that they were different from what Wang Ling said. He continued to walk forward until he came to the real bathroom. He stopped when he reached the wash basins, wagging his tail and looking at Wang Ling, waiting for the next order. Not bad. Wang Ling was also full of joy, touched the dog's head, pointed to the toilet in the bathroom and said, there is the toilet in there. When you are in a hurry, you can come here to solve it. But be careful, the latrines here are often blocked. Choose something cleaner. Woof. Xiao He understood, stuck out his tongue and walked in boldly, past the urinal, and came to the 2 rows of latrines in the innermost part. These pits are separated by marble walls, but all the doors have been removed. I don't know whether it was intentional by the school or caused by previous students' sabotage. The police dog was not ashamed to go to the toilet. Wang Ling and the others did not shy away from it, and they all followed behind. The 2 outermost pits were just as Wang Ling said, disgusting. As soon as Xiao He saw them, he turned around and walked inside. Following Wang Ling's instructions, this little black guy also became a bit misophobic. Originally, this process was quite smooth, but as I walked inside, suddenly, ah! Ah! 2 screams came out one after another, startling Wang Ling and the 3 of them. It's interesting to say that when Xiao He was choosing a toilet, there happened to be a person squatting here in the public toilet, holding his mobile phone and reading a novel, very attentive. Suddenly he saw a large police dog walking over. But I was shocked on the spot, and even accidentally dropped my phone, but luckily it didn't fall into the pit. If he hadn't been helpless now, he might have run away directly. Another scream, more interesting, came from Sun Tong Tong. Where is this place? The toilet in the boys' dormitory. On weekdays, other people's girlfriends often come over. If they want to go to the toilet, they have to let their boyfriends watch and don't let other people in. But now, the guy who is squatting in the toilet is silent and has been waiting for Wang Ling and his party. The person was almost approaching when he was frightened by Xiao He. A scream also startled Sun Tong Tong. She didn't care to look at Xiao He anymore and ran out of the toilet with her face flushed. I couldn't even stay in the bathroom. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Different Dimension Red Alert World. Author, Sanqian Lang. Chapter 376. Wang Ling, dot. Wei Bowen, dot. Zhang Shenke, dot. Dongfang Yuking, dot. Xiao He, woof woof. Why does Xiao He have lines? Awkward. Embarrassed. Teaching Xiao He to use the toilet tonight was purely Wang Ling's sudden idea, and Xiao He's performance was also remarkable, which amazed several other roommates. It was a smooth process at first, but who would have thought that there was actually a person hiding here? This scream made Sun Tong Tong run away in shame, and also frightened Wang Ling and others. Xiao He was also startled by him, and shouted out 2 barks. Ah! Where did this dog come from? Get it away quickly, get it away quickly. The young man squatting on the toilet was already frightened, but Xiao He yelled at him twice, which made him even more frightened. He kept squatting and moved back, as he might step into a pit at any time. This farce was a bit ridiculous. Wang Ling twitched the corner of his mouth and quickly said in relief, "Man, don't be so scared, it won't bite people randomly." After saying that, Wang Ling knelt down and rubbed Xiao He's dog head. And Xiao He also put on that naive look at the right time, with his eyes closed and his tongue sticking out, and he seemed to be quite enjoying it. Xiao He looked like this, and there was no hostility at all. The young man who was still scared finally gradually calmed down when he saw it, took a few deep breaths, and asked in a resentful tone, "Brother, your dog. Why did you bring it to the toilet? Suddenly you saw a big wolf dog passing by, do you know how scary it is?" Wang Ling grinned awkwardly, "I'm sorry, there was no sound at all, and I didn't know you were squatting here." Ahem. Aren't I too obsessed with reading novels? 3000 Wolves Adventure Notes is quite good. I was looking at a scary place when suddenly a dog came and I almost picked up my pants and ran away. That guy is quite resentful. Sorry, I'm just teaching it to use the toilet, otherwise it wouldn't be appropriate to pull it into the dormitory. Can it learn it? Of course, Xiao He is very smart. Woof woof. Xiao He came in at the right time and barked twice. It seemed that Wang Ling's praise was quite useful. Wang Ling was a little dumbfounded. "Okay, stop yelling, just follow what I said and continue." "My woo." Xiao He got the order and looked around with his head swaying left and right. As a result, he saw a suitable latrine opposite the buddy, so he rushed up and solved it very smartly. Afterwards, Wang Ling refused to give up. As a police dog, you have to pay attention to hygiene. "Come on, press this and flush the water." As he spoke, Wang Ling pointed to the flush button, while Xiao He stood up and slapped the dog's paw down with a snap sound, and instantly heard the sound of water rushing down. Wei Bowen, dot. Zhang Shenke, dot. Dongfang Yuking, dot. The guy squatting on the toilet, dot. Xia He, woof woof. It has lines again. This group of people were all stunned by what Xiao He did. Where did this dog monster come from? Could it be any smarter? Well done, just do what you just said when it's more convenient in the future, do you hear me? Woof. Wang Ling was obviously very satisfied. He even took out toilet paper and rubbed it with Xiao He, then patted the dog's head and said, "Go back." The group of people followed Xiao He and left the bathroom, leaving only one guy who was still squatting in the pit and fell into a mess. Now that Xiao He had finally been taught how to use the toilet, Wang Ling felt relieved. Life is not easy, but survival is sometimes very simple. It can be summed up in just a few words: eat, drink, poop and sleep. If you do these few words, not to mention other things, at least there will be no problem in surviving. Now, Xiao He has everything covered. As long as he leaves enough food and water in the dormitory, even if Wang Ling leaves him alone for a long time, he can survive completely. On the way back to the dormitory, Xiao He was walking at the front. Apparently he remembered the location of Wang Ling's dormitory. He found it accurately and pushed it open with his dog's head. After Wang Ling and the others came in, he closed the door again. He stood up and, with some effort, used both hands to open the door. The claws hit the latch, and this trip was finally complete. After witnessing the whole process with their own eyes, Wei Bowen and others are still a little short-circuit in their brains, and their eyes looking at Xiao He are getting more and more intense. It's not in vain for me to call you Brother He. This little He is so convinced. Wei Bowen was now completely convinced. The process just now can be easily completed by a human, even a child, but the key point is that Xiao He is a dog. How much training does it take for a dog to do this? But it was obviously the first time for Xiao He to do such a thing, and he actually succeeded. Zhang Shenke was also filled with admiration. After praising him, he even said sarcastically, "Bowen, Brother He is much smarter than you." Roll. I found a treasure. Wang Ling, you really don't want to sell this black back. You can give me more money. Dongfang Yuking is still thinking about Xiao He. Even Sun Tongtong is full of satisfaction when looking at Xiao He. Love. Wang Ling coughed dryly and said, "Stop it and keep drinking." With Xiao He's performance, the atmosphere in the dormitory was much more lively. He said nothing but Xiao He, and even fed him some barbecue. Xiao He also refused to refuse anyone who came, and ate everything. Wang Ling didn't restrain it too much. As long as it was not poisonous to it, it could eat some. As long as it didn't eat feces, it would be acceptable. This night, Wang Ling and the others ate very late, and even played games for a long time after drinking and eating. They felt sleepy, and then they fell asleep each other, and Xiao He also got into his doghouse very obediently. This evening, Wang Ling did not go to Red Alert World again. Previously, he worked extra hard in the Red Alert World. To put it bluntly, he still wanted to use advanced exchange to resurrect Xiao He. Now that he has succeeded, of course he is not so anxious, not to mention that these harmful friends are back in reality. There was nothing to say all night. The next day, Wang Ling and others, including Xiao He, were still the same as before, spending the day leisurely. But after another day, they couldn't take it too easy. Today was the day of the final exam. Wang Ling's university is, to put it bluntly, a pheasant university. Although it has an official number, the teaching quality is really terrible. Except for some special majors, there is basically nothing to learn. Many teachers are reading from textbooks in class. There are only a few students every time, and the others are part-time workers who should be working, and decadent ones who should be decadent. As for this final exam, to put it bluntly, it is just a formality. Whether you can pass or not depends largely on your attendance rate and has little to do with the test paper. Because of this, Wang Ling and the others are not too worried about the final exam. Wang Ling, who has a high attendance rate, can pass no matter what, but Dongfang Yuking and the others may not be able to attend even one of 10 classes. Even if you write down the answers, you won't be able to pass the exam. After looking past this, the exam had just begun, and Zhang Shen was about to hand in the paper in just 2 minutes. As a result, the invigilator disagreed. Stop. What's your attitude? After half a year of study, you only need 2 minutes to answer the question. And Zhang Shenke also said something shocking. Teacher, you can't look down on me so much. Believe it or not, I can get 59 points in just 2 minutes by writing casually. Different Dimension Red Alert World. Author, Sanqian Lang. Chapter 377. Puff. Ha 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 ha. 59 points for just writing. Ha ha ha. Dot. Zhang Shenke's words were astonishing. With this sentence, everyone in the entire examination hall burst into laughter. Even Wang Ling couldn't help but laugh, and fell on the desk with laughter, showing his abdominal muscles. In college exams, there is a saying, long live 60 points. One more point is a waste, and half a point less is not enough. There is also a saying that the more you waste, the less you collapse. The difference between 59 and 60 can lead to a lot of trouble. If you pass 60%, nothing will happen, but if you miss even 1 point, you will have to worry about it. You have to take a make-up exam. You have to pass 60% over and over again. If you can't even pass the make-up exam, the school will, but there is every reason to withhold the diploma. Of course, the final exam papers for each course are written by the teacher who teaches them, and they are also graded by the teacher. On weekdays, very few students get a score of 59 by coincidence. Even if it is such a coincidence, usually the teacher accidentally gets one wrong and adds it to 60 points. So, 59 points, there is something fishy here. Basically, the teacher is deliberately trying to tease people. This is almost an unspoken rule. Think about it, it's still a failure, less than 10 points, or just 20, 30, 340 points. Compared with 59 points, which one is more uncomfortable? 59 points may be rare in other universities, but in Wang Ling's school, it is common. I usually don't even attend class, and I even occasionally have conflicts with the teacher. During the final exam, it is normal for the teacher to be embarrassed. Of course, generally no one likes this kind of embarrassment, but Zhang Shen was such a fool, and he actually went for 59 points from the beginning. Just write and you will get 59 points. If this statement appears in the examination room, it will certainly make a lot of people laugh. You. Poof. Not to mention the group of students, even the invigilator became angry after being annoyed for a while. He laughed a few times regardless of the image and then managed to suppress it and reprimanded, "How can you be like this? From the beginning. Are you rushing to make up the exam? Then why did you come to take the exam? Have you never thought that if you write more, you might be able to get an extra point?" Zhang Shenke's words were still astonishing. Teacher, it's important for people to know themselves. If I fail, I will fail. If I write more, I won't even get 59 points. Ha 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 ha. He still wants 59 points so much. Ha ha ha. This guy Shenke. Dot. There was another burst of laughter in the examination room, but this time the invigilator couldn't laugh or cry. Faced with a student like Zhang Shenke who was astonishing in his words and invincible in his remarks, she had no choice but to accept Zhang Shenke's test papers. He was sent off in just over 2 minutes. As soon as Zhang Shen left, the others couldn't sit still and stood up one after another to hand in their papers. 2-minute answer sheet is not Zhang Shenke's patent, but not everyone dares to hand in the answer sheet so quickly. What are you doing? I've rebelled against you. Sit back, as expected, not everyone can leave so quickly. The invigilator couldn't stop Zhang Shenke, but he took out his anger on others. In a short time, no one can leave this examination room. There was no other way, including Wang Ling and the three of them, they had no choice but to sit down and read the test papers. After waiting for more than 10 minutes, Wang Ling finally couldn't wait any longer and stood up to hand in the paper again. But this time, the invigilator finally had no reason to stop him anymore and watched Wang Ling put down the test paper and leave the examination room with an expressionless face. Wang Ling's departure also triggered a chain effect, and others began to submit their papers one after another. After a while, there were only some real top students and a few fake top students left in the entire examination room, who were still diligently studying the test papers. Make a struggle. Why are you bastards just coming out now? I've waited so long that all the flowers have withered. When I saw Zhang Shenke outside, this bastard was already a little impatient with the waiting. Wang Ling replied in a dumbfounded way, if you don't speak so shockingly, you won't be able to control the invigilator. It's good to be able to come out so quickly. It's just like you, making a joke and being treated like a monkey, Wei Bowen also retorted. Anyway, I finally left the examination room, waited until Sun Tongtong came back to the dormitory, brought Xiao He, and the few of them started to wander around again. Amid the wandering, the afternoon exam came quickly. It seems that Zhang Shenke's shocking remarks in the morning have reached the school leaders, which made the school leaders quite angry. For this reason, they even issued a special order, and the invigilator conveyed the supervision. The exam started, and within half an hour, the paper could not be handed in. As a result, Zhang Shenke had no choice. The next few days of exams were spent like this. Most of the people in the exam room were sleeping on their stomachs. The invigilators were so angry that their faces turned red and their necks were thick. However, some invigilators had long been used to it. The exam was finally over, and the moment they walked out of the examination room, Wang Ling and others felt refreshed. However, after feeling relaxed for a while, Wang Ling couldn't help but laugh. After the exam, the school went on winter vacation, and the dormitory was sealed off 2 days later. The students couldn't even think about leaving. They had only been together for a few days, and they had to separate again. But there was nothing I could do. After being away from home for so long, it was time to go back for a visit. Even Zhang Shenke and Wei Bowen took a long vacation and wanted to go home. After spending the last few days, until the day when the dormitory building was about to be sealed off, Wang Ling and the others left one after another. Wang Ling was the last one to leave. He didn't plan to take Xiao He home this time. Before leaving, he specifically ordered Xiao He to return to the system transit station. At worst, he would go in every once in a while to stay with him. At home, Wang Ling's mother doesn't like to keep dogs, and even if her parents really accept Xiao He, they will definitely not let him take her with them when school starts next time. Instead of this, it would be better not to let this dog. The sun came out. Several other people had bought their train tickets in advance and took the bus to the train station. After a few rounds, they finally got home. On weekdays, Wang Ling has to follow this procedure when he goes home, but it's different now. With the points accumulated in the different dimensional system, Wang Ling is a complete nouveau riche. Although he has unlocked advanced redemption, Wang Ling knows that these points are very useful, but after all, 1 point can be exchanged for 100 yuan in cash. Wang Ling has accumulated a large amount of points. Any exchange of some fractional points can make Wang Ling's wallet full. Stand up. With this mentality of a nouveau riche, Wang Ling did not buy a train ticket. He simply took a taxi outside the school. It cost several hundred yuan and lasted 3 or 4 hours, crossing 2 cities, while still on the road. I bought some special snacks on the way and finally returned to my hometown. Different Dimension Red Alert World. Author, Sanqian Lang. Chapter 378. It's ridiculous to say that long-distance taxis are actually very normal in the eyes of many people, but when you land here with Wang Ling, you always feel like a luxury. Even when paying the bill, the driver said, "Young man, you have a good family, why would you spend so much money on a trip home? Although in the Red Alert world, he is the leader of a field team, commanding thousands of infantry, hundreds of tanks, and traveling in military anti-aircraft tracked vehicles, in the real world, Wang Ling is still just a student party driver after all. How could the master have thought that Wang Ling had earned all this money? I just thought I was squandering my family's money. Are you anxious if you don't want to go home? Wang Ling made up a random excuse and excused himself. In fact, he simply has the mentality of a nouveau riche and doesn't want to squeeze into the train. After saying goodbye to his brother, Wang Ling picked up his luggage, refreshed himself, and walked into the house. Mom, Dad, I'm back. This separation lasted for half a year in real life, and Wang Ling's time was even longer. He had been in the virtual Red Alert world for more than half a year. It was equivalent to not going home for more than a year, and he missed him a lot. You're back, are you tired? Mom was still busy in the kitchen. After hearing the voice, she walked out with a flurry of greetings. But my father was a little more serious. You came back very quickly. Did you come back by high-speed rail? How much did it cost? Wang Ling quickly shook his head. Where is it? It's not a high-speed rail. Dad, you are overthinking it. Oh. Dad responded, subconsciously thinking it was an ordinary express train, and Wang Ling didn't want to explain too much. Previously, my life in the Red Alert world and school had been switching back and forth, and I was used to being tense and comfortable and leisurely. But when I returned home, it was a different feeling, and I was not used to it for a while. After Wang Ling said hello, he went back to the bedroom, packed his luggage, and lay on the bed to rest for more than 10 minutes before going out and helping his mother in the kitchen. After half a year of separation, they finally returned home. This was a rare bustle in a family like Wang Ling's. Soon, even grandparents, aunts, etc. all gathered together, and the whole family had a lively meal. Had dinner. Don't tell me, going out is really a workout. When Wang Ling came back from this trip, he felt much more energetic and calm. He has matured at first glance. After dinner, the family sat together again, chatting while watching TV. Somehow, the topic came to Wang Ling. Grandpa looked Wang Ling up and down, and couldn't help but praise him. The more he looked at his grandson, the more he looked at him. Satisfied. In fact, it was not the school that trained Wang Ling. How could he get any exercise in the dormitory every day? What really tests people is the world of Red Alert. Inside, Wang Ling faced a war. Once he died, he would die in reality. Even with the status of a player, he was still under a lot of pressure. Moreover, after various types of military changes, large and small battles were also carried out. I have done it many times and am practicing almost all the time. The current Wang Ling is like a hard rock and a sharp sword. His appearance is calm, but his eyes are very sharp. His whole person is like a hidden sharp sword, which invisibly reveals the power of the battlefield. Calm and passionate. Although in real life, Wang Ling has tried his best to restrain himself, but if you look carefully, you will inevitably find something unusual. This was noticed by his grandfather. However, no one could tell anyone about the extra-dimensional system. Wang Ling smiled calmly and naturally let the school take the blame and blamed everything on the school. In addition, Wang Ling was even urged to get married. Even with Wang Ling's current state of mind, he was also stunned. We have to press for marriage before graduation. After graduation, what will happen to the family? After 2 hours in a row, his mood finally faded. His grandparents, aunts, and other relatives gradually left. Wang Ling finally had time to wash up and lay down on the soft bed in the bedroom. When he was at school, Wang Ling's biggest feeling was freedom and leisure, while at home, he felt warm but also somewhat constrained. There is always an intersection between these two lives, the world of Red Alert. He had been with his roommates for the past few days and had never been there. After returning home and having some free time, Wang Ling immediately thought of the different dimensional system. After turning off the lights, he immediately contacted Uncle He and entered the system transfer. Woof woof. As soon as he settled down and regained consciousness, Wang Ling heard Xiao Hei's familiar barking. Xiao Hei, are you still used to staying here? Wang Ling smiled and rubbed the dog's head. Although Wang Ling's current state has entered the system with deep thinking and consciousness, Xiao Hei is also a semi-virtual and semi-physical existence after all. He can certainly be touched within the system's transit. Not only that, while staying in this transit, Xiao Hei can even see Wang Ling in real life and Wang Ling in Red Alert at any time, just like Uncle He, just like watching a three-dimensional movie. As for the flow rate of time, when Wang Ling is not here, it is actually the same as the outside world. There is no need to worry that Xiao Hei will be relatively short-lived here because the flow rate of time is too fast. My woo. After hearing Wang Ling's question, Xiao Hei let out a strange cry. After all, this guy was trained by Wang Ling himself, and he knew very well what he was thinking. He was really not used to it. This is also Wang Ling's fault. When Uncle He asked him to come up with a transit environment, he directly built a mechanical secret room. Since then, he has not even bothered to stay here any longer. Naturally, he has not changed it. There are big iron blocks everywhere. Of course Xiao Hei would not feel comfortable sleeping here. Uncle He, let's change the environment. Thinking of this, Wang Ling worked hard to conceive of a comfortable pastoral environment, in which the dog kennel was extremely luxurious, and there were even a lot of dog food and dried meat piled up, as well as some toys specially prepared for police dogs. Snapped. After Uncle He received Wang Ling's consciousness information, he reacted quickly. He snapped his fingers, and the entire relay seemed to be showing a three-dimensional slideshow. The mechanical secret room was divided into many small squares, and the pages were quickly rotated. Within a moment, the pastoral environment conceived by Wang Ling was transformed. Woof woof. Seeing this environment, Xiao Hei finally liked it. He barked twice happily and even chased his tail in a circle. Then he got into the doghouse and enjoyed pulling out a piece of dried meat. Start eating. This carefree look is really enviable. Wang Ling smiled and shook his head. After settling Xiao Hei, he finally opened the door to the Red Alert world and left with an indifferent look. After entering, I was in a trance and returned to the world of Red Alert. Naturally, Xiao Hei couldn't come back. After all, he had died here. He could only watch Wang Ling's goings-on from inside. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Different Dimension Red Alert World. Author, Sanqian Lang. Chapter 379. After all, the Red Alert world is a virtual world built by Uncle He. It was specially created to strengthen Wang Ling, and naturally Wang Ling is the main body. When Wang Ling is here, time begins to pass and the plot gradually advances. Once Wang Ling leaves, the whole world will pause, waiting for Wang Ling's return. It had been 5 or 6 days since Wang Ling left the Red Alert world last time, but when he returned to the Red Alert world again, it was still the time after the war. Wang Ling had just ended the war in this world. The Allied forces had retreated from their territory and were now lying on the hard beds in the barracks. When he first got this extra-dimensional system, Wang Ling was a little confused by the time difference when entering and exiting. However, he has already adjusted his biological clock. He has been running around and working hard in the real world for a day, and now he is a little tired, so he happened to be in the Red Alert directly. The world fell asleep. Before leaving the Red Alert world, Wang Ling teamed up with several field teams from other bases to send troops, pushing 2 bases in a row without sparing a single soldier. It can be said that he really hurt the Allied forces. When the decisive battle was in full swing, after suffering such a big loss, they did not retaliate immediately. Instead, they quickly reduced their troops and stepped up the construction of various defensive forces. Taking advantage of this opportunity, Wang Ling and the others rarely had a peaceful sleep. They slept until dawn and felt refreshed when they woke up. With Wang Ling's last attack, the entire process of the decisive battle has almost come to an end. As long as each coalition base has accumulated enough strength to launch the final charge again, I believe that they can defeat the Allies in one fell swoop and win this hegemony. The battle is won. Of course, this preparation period is also slightly long. All major bases must make various preparations, including soldiers, tanks, and auxiliary Kirov airships. It cannot be completed in a short time. During this period, Wang Ling's wolf group had nothing going on. At the beginning of a new day, after morning exercises and breakfast, they naturally resumed their original defensive posture and monitored the movements of the Allies at any time. And under this kind of defense, half a day passed quickly. After lunch, Wang Ling was planning to continue stationing, and even arranged for some personnel to take turns taking lunch breaks. However, before they were in place, he heard an order on the radio, asking the wolf group to gather in front of the command post. Although the decisive battle is coming to an end, after all, the bases have not yet been prepared, and there is currently no war. What does it mean to gather now? Wang Ling was a little confused, but he still took the wolf group and rushed to the command post as soon as possible. When he arrived, he found that Chen Tong was already waiting here with some members of the Eagle group in base number 15. Different from the wolf group, the Eagle group only has some representative figures here, far less than the wolf group. It seems that this home field still belongs to the wolf group. In addition to the Eagle group, even the dog group and the newly established tiger group of base number 16, the previous fox group had perished in the war, under the leadership of General Luo Er, also sent some representatives to observe. Reporting to the commander, all members of the wolf team have arrived. Wang Ling was a little confused, but he still performed a military salute honestly. General Li Wiki looked at Wang Ling and nodded with satisfaction. As the saying goes, heroes emerge from troubled times. This sentence is not true at all. I am very lucky that this hero came from our base. General, Wang Ling was puzzled. Prince Xiaoping said with a smile on the side, this is a conferment ceremony specially prepared for you. Don't be too obedient to get an advantage. The investiture ceremony. Upon hearing this word, Wang Ling felt excited. I have been promoted again. Previously, Wang Ling felt guilty because of Xiao Hei's death. He was obsessed with unlocking the high-level exchange, and suppressed his emotions quite a bit. But as the high-level redemption was successfully unlocked and Xiao Hei was resurrected in the real world, this kind of depression was released. When he should be excited, he would be excited, and when he should be happy, he would be happy. However, it was still a face-saving project after all. He was excited in his heart, but on the surface he was very calm and just gave another military salute. At this time, Major General Li Wiki received the letter of conferment and the new rank epaulets from King Xiaoping, and announced, Captain Wang Ling, since entering the battlefield of the decisive battle, his performance has been extremely outstanding. He has completely destroyed 3 Allied bases, and defeated the Allied encirclement and suppression, annihilated a large number of enemy troops, defended the base with unexpected strategies, made repeated military exploits, and worked diligently. At the same time, the tactics pioneered by Wang Ling also served as a reference for the entire coalition forces, which is of great significance. After the decision of the General Headquarters, he was awarded. Wang Ling holds the rank of Lieutenant Colonel. Do-do-do-do. Bang bang bang. After the announcement was over, the military songs of the coalition forces were even played symbolically around, and all the onlookers burst into warm applause. The scene was quite grand. However, Wang Ling was a little confused. Lieutenant Colonel? The honor of military rank becomes more difficult to improve as you go up. Wang Ling was previously a captain, which was not low among all field team leaders. After that, he was a major or lieutenant colonel. When he stepped into the rank of colonel, that position has a certain degree of influence within the entire coalition. Wang Ling originally thought that he would be able to rise to the rank of lieutenant colonel once he was promoted to major. Who would have thought that this time he would jump 2 ranks in a row and become a lieutenant colonel? The surprise came so suddenly that Wang Ling couldn't accept it for a while. Just when Wang Ling was confused, General Li Wiki had already stepped forward, awarded the certificate of conferment to Wang Ling, and personally re-wear the epaulet with the rank of lieutenant colonel for Wang Ling. Wang Ling also subconsciously accepted the award letter. When he saw the words Lieutenant Colonel on it and the signature seal of the General Headquarters, he finally felt confident. I am now a Lieutenant Colonel. Wang Ling, congratulations. There are very few people who can be continuously promoted to military ranks after reaching the rank of school officer. You are just one of them. At this time, Major General Li Wiki finally finished wearing the new military rank, patted Wang Ling on the shoulder, and said with emotion, "Don't think this ceremony is simple. In fact, when there are no major events, the colonel level will not prepare special preparations. During the investiture ceremony, let alone during the decisive battle? However, these things your boy did are really not easy, even I am a little impressed. We submitted the battle situation to the headquarters overnight, and after receiving your investiture letter, we discussed it in private. Now, I will hold a simple one just for you. Thank you for your care, General." Wang Ling gave a military salute calmly on the surface, but his heart was gradually surging. General Li Wiki looked at Wang Ling, nodded with satisfaction, and finally said, "Okay, I have given you the certificate of award and shoulder straps. From now on, you will be officially promoted to Lieutenant Colonel." Among the leaders of the major field groups, the colonel number is still relatively small, and the lieutenant colonel is considered the best among all coalition team leaders. The coalition will not treat heroes badly. Heroes must be treated like heroes. In the next few days, the Wolf team will continue to expand and strengthen fighting power. Wang Ling, do your best. Different Dimension Red Alert World. Author, Sanqian Lang. Chapter 380. Yes, General. Wang Ling controlled the turbulence in his heart and performed another military salute dignifiedly and powerfully. In the military, this military salute is almost a universal action. General Li Wiki gave up and then turned to look at Chen Tong and warned, "Chen Tong, you have to work hard and catch up with Wang Ling." "Yes, I will definitely live up to the general's trust," Chen Tong responded quickly. "Okay, disband and go garrison each other." After waving his hand, General Li Wiki took Zhao Pingwang and Raoski directly back to the command post. General Luo Er also returned after reading it with interest. But the others did not immediately return to the defensive position. Instead, they collectively stepped forward to congratulate him. "Haha, team leader, Lieutenant Colonel, congratulations. I'm already a school official. Haha, just hang out with the team leader and you'll get something to eat. Congratulations, team leader, don't forget us brothers after your success." The members of the Wolf group crowded over almost all at once, especially the old members Sun Dehua, Erlu, Li Tong, and Gu Suanwei were the most active. Although the 3 captains Huben, Xiang Dingtian, and Niu Huang did not belong to the king at the beginning, Ling was in charge, but now he was a member of the Wolf group, so he naturally had a happy expression on his face. Not only the Wolf group, but also the Eagle group, Dog group, and Tiger group all came forward to congratulate. In the coalition base on the 15th and 16th, Wang Ling was the first team leader to be promoted to a school officer, and he fully deserved such congratulations. Among these people, Chen Tong was particularly confused and had mixed feelings. When the two met, Their military ranks were still at the same level, and Chen Tong's reputation in the army was even higher than Wang Ling's. But how long has passed now? Wang Ling has surpassed him quickly, which makes him stunned and has no temper at all. He can only admire from the bottom of his heart. I think Chen Tong is also a proud man, but now he has this kind of mood, and it seems that he has been hit hard. Okay, now is not the time to celebrate. We are still on the battlefield of the decisive battle. Hurry back and set up defenses. The provincial allies will take advantage of this opportunity and sneak in. After being surrounded for a while, Wang Ling couldn't bear this. Kind of warm congratulations, and quickly interrupted. After dismissing the group of people, Wang Ling breathed a sigh of relief. He looked at the certificate of award in his hand and touched the lieutenant colonel's rank epaulet. He couldn't help feeling a little emotional, even a little proud. However, the decisive battle was still in progress, and Wang Ling's achievements were far beyond that, so he did not feel complacent for too long and quickly calmed down. Wang Ling, congratulations. Just when Wang Ling was about to return to his post, another congratulation came from not far away. He turned around and saw that it was Werther. The military is very hierarchical, and it's okay for soldiers to joke with their superiors, but they must also maintain enough respect. However, under the Wolf Group, there was just one person who dared to call Wang Ling by his first name, such as the current Werther. As a member of the psychic force, Wit has a transcendent status within the Wolf Group, although he does not have a fixed position or military rank. Although Wang Ling has always been wary of the psychic troops, he can't do anything to this Werther. Fortunately, during these days of fighting with the Wolf Group, Wit's performance was quite satisfactory, and Wang Ling was often amazed by his ability to control his mind. Wang Ling is also looking forward to it. He hopes that the Red Alert world will be different from the game plot. He also really doesn't want to be an enemy of the psychic troops. It would be best if they can live in harmony and fight against the enemy together. However, you still need to be vigilant. Thank you. Thinking of this, Wang Ling smiled lightly and replied politely. Wit had long been used to Wang Ling's cold talk to him, so he wasn't surprised. He slowly approached Wang Ling and praised, "When we trained together, I thought you were a waste and that no matter how hard you trained, you couldn't reach the standard in the psychic army. But I didn't expect that you are not suitable for the psychic army, but you play a decisive role on the frontal battlefield. No wonder the leader values you so much. After following the Wolf Group in the battle for these years, I actually have a feeling of admiration in my heart, as if when I fight with you, I will feel like I am invincible. This feeling is wonderful." This kind of praise even felt like a compliment. After hearing this, Wang Ling couldn't help but raise the corners of his mouth. "Really? It's a real honor to get such a comment from you. Don't hang around for too long. Return to work as soon as possible." After saying that, Wang Ling didn't pay any more attention to Werther and went directly back to the Wolf Group station. As for Wit, he looked at Wang Ling's back with an inexplicable smile on his lips. He didn't know what he was thinking. In the following time, there was nothing else to do. Under the garrison, night soon came. Wang Ling arranged the staff on duty and fell asleep. However, he had already contacted Uncle He in his mind and returned to the other dimensional system. In the transfer station. Woof woof. Seeing Wang Ling's return, Xiao He got excited and crawled out of the kennel. Suddenly he jumped on Wang Ling's body and kept licking his face. "Xiao He." Wang Ling hurriedly hugged this guy, and was so happy that he was hugged. At first, Xiao He didn't eat, drink or sleep, and was exhausted from life to death. He resurrected again, and his body was also very thin. But during these days, Wang Ling fed Xiao He a lot of his favorite food almost every day. Xiao He's body gradually recovered, and Wang Ling felt very relieved to see it. "Xiao He, it's okay to eat more, but don't just focus on gaining weight. If it doesn't matter, You should also exercise more, play more, and stay healthy, Wang Ling advised. Woof woof. Xiao He understood, wagging his tail, jumped off Wang Ling, and went directly to the entertainment area specially prepared for him in the manner to start playing. Seeing Xiao He so happy, Wang Ling felt relieved. However, Wang Ling had no intention of taking Xiao He home because of his previous concerns. While Xiao He was minding his own entertainment, Wang Ling had already returned to the real world. After spending a whole day in the red alert world, it only lasted about 2 hours in the real world. With no time to rest, Wang Ling turned around and fell asleep directly. In the following time, Wang Ling's life began to cycle between the real world and the red alert world. Occasionally, there would be some things at home that consumed some energy, and he would temporarily give up entering the red alert world. After a period of time, his life passed. It's quite bland. Nothing happens in reality. The red alert world is accumulating strength, and there is no war for the time being before the final battle begins. I can't remember how many days it was since I returned home. This morning, Wang Ling had just finished breakfast when his mother took him to the market. The market in this township is held once every 5 days. Small merchants and hawkers from nearby villages will rush to the market early to occupy some good positions to sell some groceries. Today, we happened to catch up with the township market.